Like I mentioned before, the maxilla has two main parts, the body and the processes. Why are they so important? Let's find out and learn. The four surfaces and the maxillary sinus team up to make the body of the maxilla. Body consists of four surfaces, which are the anterior or facial surface, the posterior or infratemporal surface, the superior or orbital surface, and the medial or nasal surface. The anterior surface is the front surface of the maxilla. As you can see, it is directed forwards and laterally. Above the incisor teeth, there is a slight depression, the incisive fossa, which gives origin to depressor septi incisive and arises from the alveolar margin below the fossa along the nasal notch. Lateral to canine eminence, there is a larger, deeper depression, the canine fossa, which gives origin to levator anguli oris. Above the canine fossa, there is an infraorbital foramen, which transmits infraorbital nerves and vessels. The levator labii superioris arises between the infraorbital margin and infraorbital foramen. Medially, the anterior surface ends in a deeply concave border, the nasal notch. The posterior surface is directed backwards and laterally. It forms anterior wall of the infratemporal fossa. Anterior and posterior surfaces are separated by a ridge which leads to the socket of the first molar teeth. Near the center of posterior surface, there are openings of dental canal for posterior superior alveolar vessels and nerves. At the lower end, there is a raised maxillary tuberosity, which is rough in the upper part of its medial end, for tubercle of the palatine bone, which has the attachment of superficial fibers of the medial pterygoid muscles. Above this smooth surface, it forms the boundary of the pterygopalatine fossa and is grooved for the maxillary nerve. This groove is continuous with the infraorbital groove. The orbital surface consists of three borders, the medial, the posterior, and the anterior border. The orbital surface is itself smooth and triangular and slightly concave, which forms the greater part of the floor of the orbit. Medial border consists of a lacrimal notch, behind which it articulates with the lacrimal bone, the orbital plate, and the ethmoid. The posterior border is smooth, rounded, and it forms a greater part of infraorbital fissure, and in the middle, the infraorbital groove. Then comes the anterior border, which forms the orbital margin, infraorbital groove, and a canal. A lateral to this canal is a sinuses which passes in the anterior wall of the maxillary sinus and reaches in the nasal cavity. In the last, we have the nasal surface of the maxilla which surrounds our nose. In the upper part of the nasal surface, there is a posterior part which has a large maxillary hiatus. It leads into the maxillary sinus. In articulated skulls, this hiatus is completed by ethmoid and lacrimal bones. Behind this, there is a rough impression for the perpendicular plate of palatine bone. In front of the maxillary hiatus, there is a lacrimal groove. A sinus is a hollow space in the bones around the nose. There are two large maxillary sinuses on each side of the maxillary bones, which are present in the cheek area next to the nose. It is a large pyramidal cavity with its apex directed laterally towards the zygomatic process. The base is towards the lateral wall of the nose. On the above side, there are the ethmoid sinuses, and below we have inferior nasal concha. It opens into the middle meatus of the nose, usually by two openings, one of which is closed by mucous membrane in living state. The mucus keeps the nose from drying out. Occasionally, there are projections in the maxillary sinus from roof to the anterior wall. Let's move on towards the processes of the maxilla. As I told you earlier, we have 4 processes. The first is the zygomatic process. Zygomatic is rough and pyramidal. On the front side, it is continuous with the anterior surface of the body, and on the posterior side, it is concave. At the above, it articulates with the zygomatic bone, and at the below side, which is the arched border, it is attached with anterior and posterior surface of the body. The next, we have the frontal process. At the lateral surface, there is a vertical ridge, which is the lacrimal crest, and a groove for the lacrimal sac. The medial surface is rough and uneven and articulates with the ethmoid and also closes the anterior ethmoidal sinus below the ethmoidal crest. The upper end articulates with the frontal bone, the anterior border articulates with the nasal bone, and the posterior border attaches with the lacrimal bone. When we look at Max, this view shows us the alveolar process of the maxilla. It has a thick arched border behind and contains sockets to receive roots of teeth which vary in size and depth. The canine is the deepest, while the molar is the widest and subdivided into 3 minor sockets by septae. Incisors and premolars are single. Occasionally, incisors are divided into 2 sockets. Now, lining the floor of the mouth, we have the palatine process. It is thick, strong, and horizontal. The inferior surface is concave and presents numerous foramina for passage of nutrient vessels and contains a depression for lodgement of glands. There is a groove for greater palatine vessels and nerves. The incisive fossa leads into the incisive canal. The upper surface forms the floor of the nasal cavity. The lateral border fuses with the rest of the bone and the posterior border fuses with the horizontal plate of the palatine. I really hope you guys are now aware with the bony landmarks and the features and the major anatomy of the maxilla. Now the question arises, how will you determine its size? So let's suppose if you're handed a maxillar bone, you will firstly notice the posterior surface is convex. And then the anterior surface ends medially into a deep concave border called the nasal notch. On the inferior surface, we have the alveolar process, and the medial surface is marked by a large irregular opening, the maxillary hiatus, as we've already seen. Now we'll move on to the muscular attachments of the maxilla.